following organizations have provided funding for this Into the Outdoors series.
You wouldn't think they would get any nutrition from sticks.
Well, they don't get nutrition like they do from other things necessarily, but deer have evolved physiologically and behaviorally to put up with a winter like this. So they don't need as much food, they don't need the nutrition like they do in the summertime. So this is perfectly sufficient to get them through the winter.
How have deer populations changed over time?
At one point in the United States, deer were almost extinct. Much of that was due to unregulated hunting. European settlement caused deer populations to decrease in many areas because it was unregulated. But today we have very regulated hunting. We have specific seasons. You have to buy a hunting license to go. You can only go during a certain time of the year and take so many animals at a time. And because of that very tight regulation, deer are actually protected, well managed, and there's a surplus out there. Just like if you had cattle or a crop, there's a surplus that can be taken every year, and those animals reproduce and they replace those animals that have been taken out.
Wouldn't hunting make the population go down?
Hunters, yes, they do remove deer from the landscape, but at the same time, the hunting movement and the conservation movement in North America is really what saved deer from extermination. And our deer numbers are about as high right now in North America as they've ever been in history.
What would you say the biological carrying capacity would be in these woods here?
Carrying capacity in this part of the country, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 deer or so per square mile. All over North America, there are countless habitats that deer can live in, and all of them seem to have a little bit of a different carrying capacity.
I just saw a squirrel over there digging in the snow looking for nuts. Can deer impact other species?
Absolutely. Deer are really considered a keystone species on the landscape because they affect so many other creatures out there. White-tailed deer have actually pushed other species like mule deer out of their native habitat. Deer have a great impact on the habitat of a variety of animals. So, for example, when they overbrowse their habitat, they might be taking habitat away from ground nesting birds or shrub nesting birds. High deer populations might result in having a shortage of food for another species, or more importantly, a shortage of habitat for another species. Deer impact a very large number of plant species, especially small flowering type species that are actually endangered or threatened because of the impacts of white-tailed deer.
Sounds like managing these deer populations is a pretty big job. What kind of tools do you use?
We have several hundred people that work out in the field collecting data for us. Another really big component of what we do is we rely on hunters themselves to provide us a great deal of information through harvest and the age and the sex. And then we use that information through formulas. It will kick out some estimates for us as to just how many deer are on the landscape. And from there, we work with the hunters again to provide harvest quotas and an annual opportunity for them to go out and manage that population through hunting.
I don't mind it, but my friends aren't really cool with hunting. What would happen if we stopped hunting?
Hunting is an important tool for us to manage deer numbers. We're not only managing the impacts that deer have on their own habitat, but we're, for the most part, managing the impacts that deer have on humans. How many deer are people willing to tolerate? So deer impact people in many, many ways. Every person out there that drives a car has the possibility of hitting an animal, and they cause a lot of damage to thousands and thousands of motorists a year, not only to their vehicles, but their human safety.
It kind of sounds like you're saying hunters are like ecosystem managers that you guys use.
Absolutely. Hunters play a critical role in wildlife management. One of the real benefits that hunters provide to all wildlife management is they buy a hunting license, and that money goes into managing a variety of animals, not just deer, but endangered species, forest habitats, water quality, fisheries, all sorts of things that money benefits all over the nation.
So people are trying to become more sustainable, and hunting seems like it could be a solution to that.
Well, we're certainly seeing more of it. We are getting more folks out there who are in their 20s and 30s that may have never hunted in the past, but they are starting to look at hunting as one way that they can provide for themselves. And then the most important part of that, actually getting that venison when they are successful in the field, how to handle it, how to prepare it to the table and enjoy it.